If your wrist and fingers are locked in a position like this, and no matter what you do, you cannot open it despite all the stretching, then in this video, I'm going to show you a simple towel stretching technique. Welcome to Basically Physio. My name is Suresh and I'm a physiotherapist. Quick disclaimer, none of this replaces medical professional advice and I do this in my personal capacity. So in this video, I'm going to cover why this condition and tightness happens, and I'm going to show you this towel roll technique that I showed you earlier on. And I'm also going to share with you some safety tips to take note of before doing this exercise. And lastly, I'm going to share with you some other options that you have to manage this condition a bit more better. So why does this condition even happen? It is mainly because of spasticity and muscle tightness. So I have explained this in my other videos, but a quick explanation is that spasticity is actually a result of your brain injury and stroke, which causes these muscles and the stretch reflex to be in an overdrive. So you can think of it like just a normal stimulus is going to activate this muscle a little bit more than usual, and this is also going to trigger the stretch reflex, so it's going to be keeping it in a more contracted state rather than in a more relaxed state. And because your muscles are much more easily contracted and remain contracted for a longer period of time, this can actually lead to these muscle fibers shortening inside. And you can imagine that when your muscle fibers are much more shortened, it's going to be easier to trigger this stretch reflex, and this is just a vicious cycle of spasticity and muscle tightness. So this is why this condition develops into a tightness that you see in your upper limb and also in your lower limbs. So at this point in time, if you do want to try out some stretching first before doing this towel roll technique, then take a look at this video in the top right hand corner, and also in the description below I'm going to link up this video. So before doing this, we are going to need three equipment. First is a small roll of towel, next is a larger roll of towel, and lastly we are going to need some pillows. Okay, and one more safety thing to take note before doing this towel roll technique is that you must be very cognizant of your pain, especially when this pain is more than a mild discomfort. So because your muscles are tight, there is definitely going to be some mild discomfort. But if you're ever going to have sharp pain, extreme pain that you cannot even tolerate, and you have a lot of redness and swelling at this area, and it's not going away even with rest, then this is not going to be suitable for you, and you do need to seek medical advice. You must understand that in this type of a stretching exercise that you're doing for a tight wrist, more force does not necessarily mean more good. Okay, more force can actually lead to a serious injury, so you have to grade this force and be very gentle with yourself, especially when things are very tight. So I'm going to show you how you can do this in one hand by using a small roll of towel first. Okay, so imagine this towel is like this. What I want you to do is actually start to roll up this towel using a stronger hand. So put the towel like this on a flat surface, then start to roll it up. Okay, roll it up into a cylinder type of a shape for the small towel. Okay, then put it aside first. Okay, next is for this hand here, what we are going to do is we are going to get your wrist into a more flexion position. Okay, so if you notice, right, for your fingers, if you are going to extend your wrist, your fingers tend to be much more tighter. They tend to go inwards like this more. But if you keep your wrist flexed like this, it tends to loosen up these finger muscles and the joints here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to bring this wrist, right, to further into a bit of a flexion so that we can have some access to these fingers that we're going to stretch out using this towel. So this towel technique, what it's going to do is actually going to gently help to position this wrist and fingers a little bit more better. So I want you to get into a position like this, or into a side upwards position like this, and try to just bend your wrist like this. Okay, from this position, take a look at this part of the fingers here. Okay, so I want you to just put your finger pads, your stronger finger pads, into this area of these fingers. Okay, you can use your thumb first, it might be a bit more easier. Then just try to open up a little bit more. Okay, so it will be a little bit tight, especially when you are very, very tight, right? It's going to be difficult to push it up and open until like this. But what I'm going to get you to do is just open up and stretch it a little bit. Okay, just a little bit of movement that gets you to have some space between the finger pads and the palm area. Okay, just do gentle stretching like this on the fingertips. Okay, and what you want to do is get this towel here and just try to slip it under. Okay, so go into the space that you just created and just try to push it down a little bit more. Okay, it will still be very tight at this stage, that's fine. Okay, so we just want to get this towel into here first, and after that we are actually going to go into the forearm area. Okay, so after this we just want to get you to the forearm area and start to do some massages over this area here like this. Okay, you can actually put some massage lotion over this area and do some massages. Okay, just do it for about another 3 minutes to 5 minutes. Okay, after you have done these massages over your forearm area, Okay, so at this point in time, the towel is still in place. Okay, so after doing this, okay, what we are trying to hope that we will achieve at the end of this massage is that you are a little bit more relaxed and you can actually open up your wrist a little bit further. Okay, so imagine 3 to 5 minutes is done now. What's going to happen is you're going to go back to your wrist and we're going to try to get your hand into a position like this. That means your thumb is facing upwards and we want to do a bit of wrist movement here. Okay, so using a stronger hand, we just want you to bend this and extend, bend and extend. Okay, you may not get such nice movements, especially when you're so tight, but what we're just doing is trying to loosen up whatever we can loosen up. Okay, so just gentle oscillations. Even if your wrist is just moving like this, just do that. Okay, whatever you can do, just do that movement. Okay, so we go into downwards and then we can go into an upwards movement. Okay, so at this stage now, what we're going to do is we're going to try to take out the thumb. Okay, so most of the time you may notice that your thumb is actually inside. So what I want you to do is, using a stronger hand, the fingers here, try to reach this area of the thumb space. Okay, and try to dig your hand into it and try to just pull out this thumb. Okay, try to pull out as much as you can. And when you get this thumb slightly out, what you want to do next is you're going to try to pull this towel. Okay, so initially when you do it, it will be good to give some access at this area. So once you have actually pulled the thumb out and the towel comes out like this, then just try to put this thumb in a position like this. Okay, so your thumb should be out now and this towel should be blocking your thumb from digging into your finger pads. Okay, so this is the position that we want to get you to achieve. Okay, in a position like this. I am mindful that I'm showing you this on my hand that does not have spasticity, and because of that the movements here may look a little bit more normal compared to when you do it. So do keep that in mind. I'm not saying that you should be able to achieve this type of final position, but I just want you to think of getting this towel into your finger pads, because your fingernails, when they start to dig into your palm area here, that may actually cause some injury or infections. So the main point here I'm trying to tell you is actually to put this towel into this finger pads region and get your thumb out. Okay, because when you're very tight, this is what you can actually just start off with. Now we are actually going to go shortly, we're going to go up the joint to tackle the shoulder area, but what I want you to understand is that this is the position that I want you to rest your arm in. Okay, meaning your wrist and your fingers, I want you to be using a towel instead of using a ball that you may be actually trying to shape around your hand. It might be very difficult for you to use a massage ball or a stress relief ball, because towels, right, they can actually shape nicely into your hand and they can actually conform to whatever shape that your hand is actually tied in. So this is why we want to use a small roll of towel first. Okay, now we are going to move on to the shoulder region here. I'm going to show you the bigger roll of towel. If you are finding this video useful, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and also signing up to my weekly newsletter, Rehab Recovery. So now that you have managed to get your towel into your wrist, right, now we're going to target a bit on the shoulder and the elbow. So most of the time, when you're so tight in your wrist and your fingers, the likely position that your elbow and your shoulder is going to be is in a much more adducted position. That means it's going to come close to your body here. And what we want to aim to do at this stage now, after we have targeted this wrist, is actually to open up this space. That means to create some space between your body and your elbow. So this is actually a shoulder abduction movement. So this is actually a very important thing to do, because eventually when you become so tight, it'll be difficult to access this area of your underarm, and this is actually a bit of your hygiene aspect that you want to be able to take care of. So this is actually an important thing to address, especially when your hand is very tight. So what I want you to do is grab your hand like this and just try to gently oscillate it outwards. Okay, just going outwards like this. Okay, you may not be able to do as fast as I'm doing, but just be gentle, and you may need to put a bit of force here because it will be very tight. Okay, just be mindful of the shoulder pain, and also if there's any pain in your elbow. So just get your arm to be a bit more open and a bit more looser. And now what we're going to do is, keeping this towel in your wrist here, what you want to do is get a roll of a bigger towel and just try to slide this in between. Okay, so you may not be able to open and put it in nicely, but I just want you to slide it in gently, okay, up into your into this space in between your shoulder, your elbow and your body. So if you can get a towel like this, good enough, okay? But if you find that after doing this for a few times that you can actually do, your hand is actually getting a bit more looser, then you can look into making 2 rolls of this towel or getting an even larger towel to have this space a little bit more opened up like this. Same thing goes for your wrist and your fingers also. If you find that your hands are a little bit more looser, what you can actually do is actually get a bigger roll of towel to create some more space in your wrist and your fingers. Okay, so in this position, what I want you to do next is get a pillow or cushion and then support your arm like this. Okay, ultimately you want to create a space away from your body, so your hand is in a more abducted and a little bit more forward like this, and your wrist is a little bit more extended instead of flexed. So you want to, whatever position that you are currently in when you haven't started this video yet, the opposite of all of that positions is what we want to aim for. So your shoulder is more flexed and abducted, your wrist is a little bit more extended, and your fingers, instead of too much of flexion, try to have a little bit of extension. Okay, so this is the ultimate position that we want to aim for in this towel roll technique. Hey guys, I've actually created a free Facebook support group for you guys. It is called Support for Recovery. Do consider checking it out and joining it and being a member of the group. The link is in the description below. So for those of you who are watching this video who have very tight arm and is finding it very difficult to do any of these exercises or just moving your wrist and fingers, right? It may be time to consider medical help. So meaning there's this thing called Botox injections and also some medications to help with this spasticity. This is not a cure-all. That means just by taking this medication and using this Botox injection, it's not going to cure everything, but it can help you to buy some space and time to actually do some exercises a bit more effectively. However, with that said, this is a conversation that you need to have with your medical doctors, and this is not something that I can advise you over the video only. So do seek medical attention for this kind of conditions, especially if it's going to get very tight, because if it is not going to be managed in the early stages properly, then it's only going to get much more tighter and much more difficult to manage in the later stages. So have this conversation with your doctor and see what they say. You can actually suggest to them that maybe can you consider a Botox injection, but ultimately the decision lies on your doctor, and they are the ones who have to make the final call because they will be understanding your condition much more better than anyone, and someone who has more access to your medical records as well. So that's a disclaimer here. You can have this conversation with your doctor and see what they say. If you found this video useful, do consider checking out this video where it's going to be targeted stretching for your wrist and your fingers, and I'll see you in the next one.